I'm your host, Donna Cates, and each week we'll dive into powerful stories, expert strategies, and practical tools to help you take charge of your financial future. Whether you're planning for retirement, navigating a divorce, or simply looking to build your wealth with confidence, this is your space to grow, learn, and thrive. Let's get started with today's podcast. Welcome back, where we have honest, uplifting conversations that inspire women to grow their influence, navigate life's pivots with courage, and build a life and wealth that reflects who they are. So I'm really excited to be here today and honored to be joined by Kate Lingoni with Bonbon Strategic. So she's doing some extraordinary work in the world, and I can't wait for you to hear her story and how she got here and what she's learned along the way and how she's helping others rise as they grow their wealth on purpose. So let's start with the heart of it all. And Kate, if you could please share with us what it is you do and, more importantly, why you do it. What's the mission behind your work? Tell us about you.
Sure. Yeah. So Bonbon Strategic is basically a fractional COO micro agency. So right now I'm the main fractional COO, but I have a team under me that helps with execution. So we come in and work with small business owners who are usually either professional services, trades, or home services, and basically help them optimize their operations, whether it's back office processes, field scheduling and communications, team hiring. Like we pretty much go down every vertical aspect of the business and help them streamline the processes that they have, identify if there are gaps in team or software, and then help them implement solutions. I know there are people out there who feel like they can change the world and like they're just super ambitious and like have these big dreams. Like, that ain't me. I'm like much more of like a living in the present kind of person. So for me, what I do through Bonbon, even though it's operations and a lot of people think that's like boring SOPs and processes and stuff, I help other people increase their impact by streamlining those things. So that's how I change the world. I impact the world by impacting people who have businesses who impact the world. So that's kind of the why behind what we do. Like I like helping people optimize their business so they can get their lives back. Most of the time they didn't start it to run it, like they were either a great position and they wanted to go out on their own, or a great lawyer, or they started an HVAC business, but they wanted to do that trade, that skill set. They don't want to do payroll and hiring and write SOPs and research and implement software and set up automations and integrations. Like there's so much that goes into running the business that, the owner or founder of the business, it's not necessarily in their skill set or in their best interest to be doing those things. So that's where we come in.
Well, you are a gift to many people, I'm sure. And as a solo entrepreneur, I can totally relate. Loving the fact that fractional anything is happening now, because a lot of businesses probably, and I don't know who will be hearing this, will go, oh, well, I can't afford, hire somebody to do that. But when you're doing fractional, we're not having to hire you full time, right?
Yep.
I mean, we may choose to do that, but so that I love the idea that you're able to help so many different people. And I can't help but to believe that, even though, you mentioned that the work that you're doing might seem boring, the fact that you're doing it in so many different businesses, it probably never gets boring to you.
No, it's not boring for me, for sure. But like a lot of the owners and founders that I work with, like I'm doing all the shit they hate.
Right.
Like that's pretty much how we start, okay, like what do you hate doing? What do you love doing? And then how do we get you back to doing only what you love doing? Usually that involves like me or my team taking on the shit that they hate doing, at least for a little while, so we can create structure and processes around it. And then maybe we can give it back to someone on their team or help them hire someone to take over like just that part. But yeah.
That's awesome. So streamlining everything, getting them back to doing what they love, and you getting the business processes in place. That's huge.
Yep.
So every passion has a backstory, right? So I'm curious, was there a moment or maybe even a struggle that led you to doing this work, something that shifted your path and you said, "Ooh, I need to go out and start my own business doing this"?
So I definitely didn't come out of a business background. Like I didn't grow up with people who own businesses or anything like that. And as a kid, like never was like, I want to start my own business. It kind of just came around in a sort of roundabout way. So my background is in science, and I worked in science, through my whole undergrad, and my undergrad's in biology. I worked in oceanography for like 5 years before I did the stay-at-home mom thing. And then I had kind of an identity crisis when I let go of that science career to be a mom. And then, at that point it was like, well, what do I want to spend my life doing? Because even though raising my kid is obviously very important to me, and those younger years especially are so critical, but once he gets old enough to start going to daycare, like, what do I want my life to look like? And at that time, when my son started going to daycare when he was 2, I was working part-time for a nonprofit that teaches high school seniors entrepreneurship and business skills. So I was getting this kind of like low-level introduction to basic business practices and like meeting a lot of small business owners in that community that I lived in. And it was very intriguing and interesting to me. I didn't really, even at that point, didn't really think about starting a business. But I had also gotten into acting at the same time, and kind of realized that as an actor, until you get to a certain, size, you're managing yourself as a brand. So learning how to do digital marketing and, getting headshots and updating my resume and applying for gigs and auditions and actually filming stuff, like all of that encompasses your brand as an actor. So doing the acting thing while learning about entrepreneurship and like helping these teenagers learn and meeting all of these small business owners, I got really into digital marketing and thought I would start a digital marketing agency, because where I lived, there were only like 2 options, and a lot of them were too big for the niche that I was targeting. So unfortunately, I started that business right before the pandemic. Like literally, I filed my LLC the month before the shutdown in the Midwest. And then, everybody shut down out there. Like they were way more conservative than where I'm at now in New Orleans. So I kind of lost my target market, and then spent the next year banging my head against the wall, trying to get clients, but it was just not where people were putting their money during that time. Everybody was just conserving, trying to make it through, hoping it was going to end soon. So I started working with a business coach who helped me realize that, by that point, I hated it. Like I was so frustrated and angry and just like unhappy trying to make this business work, like trying to force it and push and like just keep going, and get through it. And she kind of helped me let go of that as a sunk cost. Like, you're not happy doing this. Like, why are you pursuing something that's not giving you energy anymore? So, helped me kind of get out of that mental stuckness and let go of that business. But then, I really liked being my own boss, and I like the freedom that comes with that. I didn't want to go back to a 9 to 5 and working for somebody else. So, her and I, we did a lot of personality testing and looked at my CV from being in science based on that experience that I had from working in a lot of different labs, doing field work, going out to sea, managing people, managing processes, along with my personal strengths. She was like, "You're an integrator." And I was like, "I don't know what that means." So then, like going to read Rocket Fuel and learning about the visionary integrator dynamic and seeing myself in that role. And it fit, like it felt good, it fit. And it was like taking my strengths out of the science bucket and putting them in the business bucket. And I had never even considered that before. I kind of just like, okay, the science thing is done. Like, I guess I can't do anything with that anymore. But so it kind of allowed me to pull on those things that I took for granted in myself, that I didn't really see them as strengths, and apply them to a niche that I had never considered. So I started working with clients kind of in a online business management capacity. helping service providers, usually like professional service providers who had either a brick and mortar or, they were doing in-person therapy sessions or retreats or whatever, helping them transition from that in-person space into the digital space. So setting up that kind of digital infrastructure so they could do scheduling and payroll and like all of these things that people used to do in person and could not do any longer. So basically helping them maintain their business to get through COVID. And then along the way, it's kind of just grown organically. Like as I worked with more clients, realized that they do need support with execution. So like a lot of them need an executive assistant or a virtual assistant, but they also need someone who understands their business to the depth that they do to help them make decisions and put out fires. So the more I did it, the more I became like a strategic partner and less of just like an implementer, like executing on their goals, and became more of like a peer level thought partner. So like helping them actually create the strategy and like decide which direction they should go next. And then breaking that down from like my project management type of experience into like, okay, well, what do we need to do to get you from here to there? And then helping them execute on that over time.
Brilliant.
That was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, but there was so much to unpack there. So number one thing I'm hoping our listeners will hear is that you were actually working with a coach who helped you unpack a lot of things and let go.
For sure. I would not be where I am today if I had not worked with her.
Right. So it's okay to ask for help. And the other big thing is it's okay to let go of something that you thought you wanted that isn't serving you anymore. That's huge, because I know me being the perfectionist type, I'm like, no, I got to keep doing this until I get it right. Right. So I wouldn't want to just let it go. That would be a failure to me. So, okay, that's really awesome. Well, I'd love for you to talk about impact. Tell me, how are you empowering others, whether that's your clients, your team, or your community, to be the best versions of themselves while growing your influence and your own wealth? I know that you've talked a little bit about how you're freeing up these business owners to do the things that they're passionate about, but tell me more about the impact that you're making.
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of the impact that I make obviously is tied to my business in streamlining these operations for business owners, but I'm also very big into personal development, like for myself. And that ends up coming out in my engagements with clients, because I feel like it's really hard, maybe impossible, to separate who you are as a person from who you are as a business owner. So for me, it's like I've learned in practice that I can only show up in my business as effectively and impactfully as I've been working on myself. Like, so if I'm struggling with imposter syndrome or something like that, that's going to impact how confidently I can show up for my clients and make decisions with them. So I think that a lot of people feel like, they'll get success in their business and then that will kind of like backfill their like personal self-esteem issues or personal growth or lack thereof. But I feel like they're really tied together. And so when you work on one, you're also working on the other, like they feed into each other. So for me, it's from the operation standpoint, but because I focus on personal development so much for myself, like I end up working on that with my clients and with people in my peer group too. Like it's just inevitable. I don't really do small talk, like I'd much rather talk about like, okay, well, what's really going on with you? Like what kind of challenges are you facing right now? Is there anything I can help you with? And sometimes it's just like talking through shit, just being there and being willing to have real conversations with people inspires them to do the same thing. So it's kind of like that ripple effect of like being open and authentic and genuine and showing up and really caring about people. It helps them do the same thing when they're communicating inside their network.
One of the questions that I often ask, Kate, I think you just answered. And that question is typically, what makes the way you do your work different? And you literally just shared with me, you're not just coming and doing the work, you're creating, you're doing the personal work to build yourself and your strength and your confidence and all of that. And that's what you're bringing to them, not just the structure, the operations, but all of that you're building on your own. So would you say that a different way? Is there a value or belief that drives your approach and sets you apart from others?
I would definitely say that, authenticity is a big one. Like, I'm pretty sure it's in our manifesto as one of our, values or traits, like as a business that we try to embody. Because I think, especially in business, there can be a lot of posturing and masks, like people pretending to be someone they're not. And I think that when you're doing that, either for yourself or for other people, like it's not really serving anyone. And by being vulnerable and real, you're giving other people permission to do the same thing. And a lot of times, because business is tied in with our personal growth, the owners that I'm working with have mindset shit that they haven't dealt with, So it's like, it's their personal development is holding their business back. So it's like, even if I come in and I fix their operations and everything's amazing and their team is great, they have all these processes and it's flowing. If the owner is stunted in their personal growth, they're going to be holding back their team and their leadership and their business growth, So it's like you can't solve one without the other. So part of what I'm doing with my clients is some level of coaching, whether it's leadership coaching or mindset coaching. And I don't really frame it that way. It's really just like two humans talking. And then I'm, not afraid to call people out on their bullshit. And I think that's really necessary because a lot of business is so, you still want to bring the level of professionalism, but it doesn't need to be fake,
Right.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you're resonating with me in an unbelievable way, because that's the thing. It's kind of like, what's the bottom line? Let's just cut to the chase, but doing it in a very compassionate way. So, I know the world is shifting really fast. I mean, AI, all of the things, everything's just exponentially fast right now. But tell me, where do you see your industry, or maybe even just your mission, going in the next 5 to 10 years, and how are you preparing for that evolution?
Well, I would definitely say even in the last few years, the fractional space has exploded, which, good or bad. I think a lot of people are leaving corporate because they want to be in charge of their life. They're tired of doing what they're supposed to do and what they should do. So that's good. Like as a culture and a society, people are kind of breaking out of this 9 to 5 hustle and grind, work hard and get rewarded kind of thing that, a lot of us were raised with. So I see that happening, and I think it's really good. And then also from the perspective of expanding your impact, I think a lot more people are open to the kind of self-development work and introspection, and people with social media, people talk about going to therapy more often and getting coaching and using resources and meditating, and a lot of the things that used to be too woo-woo to be, talked about openly, they're a lot less taboo now. So I think as a society, people are healing things that we didn't even used to talk about. So I think for me, I want to continue leading that in the business world. And just from a personal level, I think that we get the relationships that we need to grow. We have the children we need to grow. And, we meet the people in our lives who are supposed to be there right now. Sometimes that person just pisses you off, and then that's showing you where you have a trigger and something that you need to heal. So I think just being committed to this constant evolution is huge on a personal level, and also as far as inspiring social change, because it's the butterfly effect. Everybody you encounter passes some of that off to somebody else. And you never know how impactful the words you use are to someone else unless they tell you. So I think we all have this kind of social responsibility to keep growing as individuals, because we're always interacting with other people. Nobody's a silo. So yeah, and I think that's really beautiful and really powerful.
Wow, that's awesome. I have to share this with you, and I'm very curious to see if you're doing this in your practice. So, yeah, I'm in the financial industry. prominently, male dominated. And literally, if they did anything semi woo woo in that industry, it was yoga, but it was at 6:30 in the morning and breakfast was at 7:30. It was kind of like a side thought. We'll give this to you just because we know you women need that kind of thing, whatever. But now the organization that I'm surrounding myself with and working with, we do retreats, and we literally start with breath work, yoga, sound baths, all of the really good stuff. And the thing for me, this is what I wanted to share, is that because I grew up so entrenched in that other world, that even though I do Reiki and I meditate and all of the things, I struggle with incorporating it into my day-to-day living. And that's where, I think if we can keep the societal change going and putting that information out there, maybe people like me will be able to let go and free up a little bit. Because to me, it ought to be on my schedule. It should be something that's just part of my routine, and it's not.
Well, only you can change that.
See, and I know, but you're influencing that. So thank you for that, because you're reminding me. So that's really important.
Absolutely.
Well, I love this question that I want to ask. If you could sit down to lunch with any woman, living or deceased, no longer with us, who would it be, or what would you like to ask her?
Well, my immediate thought was Esther Perel. Who is like a world-renowned relationship therapist. And I've read a couple of her books, and every time I listen to her speak on like a TED Talk or something, she's just has these incredible insights about people dynamics and relationships and just everything. I think she's amazing, and I would love to sit down and pick her brain for sure.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm going to have to go check her out, because the name, it rings a bell, but I'm not placing it. So yay, thank you.
Yeah, go check out her TED Talks. They're really good.
I will definitely do that. I appreciate that. So for our listeners who feel inspired and want to learn more about you and how they could work with you or connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Oh, I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can find me on there and send a connection request. Or you can go to my website, bonbonstrategic.com, and we have a quick 15-minute intro call link right there. You can just hop on there when it's convenient for you, and I'm happy to chat.
Okay, that's awesome. And tell us again where you're located.
I'm located in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't know if we had told our listeners that yet. So gotcha. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Kate. Thank you for your story and your wisdom and your heart with us today. And I'm hopeful that women will walk away feeling renewed and a new sense of possibility. So
make it a great day. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to take the next step in your financial journey. Remember, building wealth isn't just about money. It's also about creating a life that aligns with your goals and values. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the women in your life who deserve financial empowerment too. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and keep building the life you desire.